Hello, this is Coach from DFS Coach Talk. Real quickly, before you watch the podcast, I want to mention a couple quick things. We really appreciate you tuning in. We have a special offering here at DFS Coach Talk that is different than any other DFS provider in the industry, and that's why we're the fastest growing. I build everything by hand. We have a group of pros that put in hours and hours every day preparing winning lineups for you in the NBA, NFL, PGA, and Major League Baseball. And we're also doing bonus coverage right now of KBO until sports come back. So join now, get a free month this whole month. The memberships don't start until July 30th. So enjoy that, make some money, build some bankroll. Definitely engage with us on all social media. Enjoy the podcast, and let's take down some money and just crush it.
Summer is here, and sports are finally back, which can only mean one thing. It's time to kick back, relax, and make some cash. Everyone has to start somewhere, which is why you want to get off on the right foot by choosing an established book like mybookie.ag. And with all the major sports seasons just around the corner, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Dynamic betting lines and a simple-to-use platform make the process easier than it's ever been. Create your account in just a few easy steps. Deposit and begin placing your bets. Sign up now using promo code COACHTALK to get your deposit matched halfway, all the way up to $1,000, plus $25 extra free play. That's promo code COACHTALK. Use it to score yourself an extra piece of the pie. With MyBookie, you bet, you win, and most importantly, when you win, you get paid.
Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Tuesday, July 14th, 2020. I'm Andrew Hansen alongside Sugar Shane Caldwell, and today we're going to break down tomorrow morning's July 15th KBO slate. And Shane, you're looking well rested this afternoon here. Are you ready for a night in KBO?
Yeah, I'm good. I got more than 3 consecutive hours of sleep last night. I let you and Coach handle the 4 a.m. wake up call for check lineups. So yeah, I'm very, very well rested and really loving this slate. A lot of cool stuff going on in this slate. So we're really excited for KBO. And how about you guys? How about the DFS Coach Talk team this morning with their KBO lineups? We're hitting on DraftKings and FanDuel. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys got to those lineups and those plays?
Yeah, it was a really fun night for all of us, members and DFS Coach Talk team alike. We're really strong on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Winners on both sites. FanDuel 4 to 6x returns. And the thing is, we nailed the pitchers. All 3 pitchers we gave out for DraftKings. Return value solid across the board with hitters. We got the value catcher on DraftKings, S. Jang for KTW. He went deep. We had a lot of Jung Cha and Jung Ho Lee. They went deep. So just real solid night across the board.
Yeah, I really like the Jung Ho Lee and the Jung Cha from SK play because the night before, I guess it would have been the morning before, Monday morning, they had that makeup game, and both of those guys played really bad, even though they're the top hitters for their team. They played really bad. So the recency bias kind of kicked in there where you could get them at a little bit lower ownership, and they both, I think, went deep and had a huge game. So, yeah, that was great plays there that really set us apart. So very
Absolutely.
exciting.
Now, the other exciting thing, speaking of being excited, was yesterday was the first day we had the article from Freddie Mills, a new contributor for us, up on our website, and that was terrific. And he's got another one up there today for us. So go check that out, dfscoachtalk.com. Very in-depth article, lots of key stats and trends, not just from a DFS perspective, but also a betting perspective. So highly recommend that. And speaking of betting, you heard in the intro there the wonderful offer we have for folks at mybookie.ag. You can find that on our website. Click on the MyBookie logo. Use the promo code CoachTalk. Get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Also get that $25 free play. We also want to thank TVG, another one of our sponsors. That's where the world watches and wagers on horse racing. And we have a $300 free play, no risk bet there on our website that you can get. So again, go to dfscoachtalk.com, take advantage of that wonderful offer. So that's the intro, the background. And as we get ready for this 5-game slate, Shane, we should mention right at the top that we have a phenomenal lineup on FanDuel built. At least we think we do, because we both built it individually without talking about the slate. We came up with the exact same lineup on FanDuel. What are the odds of that?
Yeah, so I don't know if that means it's a chalk lineup or a really good lineup, but if both of us independently came up with it, I'm rolling with it. Unless something happens with injuries or replacements here, I really like it. So we're pretty excited about it. So
yeah, that's right. So
let's go.
For the folks out there considering membership, this would be a great day to jump in. As a member, we give out that FanDuel lineup to our members in Discord, and we also give the DraftKings player pool. So we'd love to have you. Great promotion right now. If you get a month membership, that's going to take you all the way till August 30th. So you get bonus coverage for the rest of July here as we continue to cover KBO and PGA and wait for the other U.S. sports to come back. So we'd love to have you. DFSCoachTalk.com. Grab one of those memberships. All right, Shane, let's jump into this fun 5-game slate. Looking at game 1 here, it's Hanwha 16-44 against KT 30-29. And on mybookie.ag, the KT Wiz are minus 250 favorites. Over under is 10.5. That's the highest total on the board. So what are your thoughts on game number 1 here?
Well, I like the KT Wiz lineup. Those guys are loaded from top to bottom. I feel like if this team had like good pitching and a good bullpen, that they would probably be like one of the best teams in this entire league, because their hitting lineup is awesome. So they're kind of good for like shootouts, for high scoring games, for fantasy. They're good because they're like the classic team that puts up a lot of runs but gives up a lot of runs. It's like so you got a really high over under. They're highly favored here. Two bad pitchers, 2 pretty bad bullpens. So I expect a lot of nice high scoring runs in this game. Definitely like the KT Wiz. The KT Wiz, when I was reading Freddie Mills' article, I had been studying this game and looking at the trends, and I realized that the KT Wiz do really good against left-handed bats, and they have a lot of right-handed or left-handed pitchers. So they have a lot of right-handed hitters in this lineup that are really good, and they bat really good against lefties, which they're going up against an inexperienced lefty and Bum-Soo Kim for Hanwha. So that's why I really like the right-handed bats, and they are loaded all the way from top to bottom with the KT Wiz here. So we definitely like Jay Hwang, and of course we like Mel Rojas Jr. He's probably the MVP of the KBO, in my opinion. And we even like Jay Bay down there in Kyung So Park, and even the catcher, if you have to go catcher on DraftKings, S. Jang. So it's pretty simple there. KT Wiz are a really good stack for tonight, or at least you want to get a couple of those right-handed bats, and they are in a really good matchup here. You can look at the Hanwha guys, a few of those guys, but it's really tricky to predict which one of the Hanwha guys are going to go off, even though they're in a good matchup here. But this is a great game.
Yeah, you're right. In that other matchup, I do prefer the KT bats by far. Hanwha, you'd say, well, let's see if we can find a lefty here, because lefties are hitting 328 against Min-Soo Kim. In fact, righties are hitting 376 against him, but it's just tough to find a Hanwha bat that you're actually excited about, who's actually at a decent price. I mean, my favorite guy to play has been Yunhwan Jung, but he's 4,200 on DraftKings, and that's just not cheap enough for a guy that is not big on power. And the other thing I'll mention about KT's pitcher here, Min-Soo Kim, is he is a reliever turned starter. 6 of his 15 appearances have been starts, but he's been pretty solid in his last 4 starts. 22 1/3 innings, only 7 earned runs. The thing is, he doesn't strike anybody out. His max strikeout total in those 4 starts is only 2. So, at 5,500 on DraftKings, basically anybody who's pitching against Hanwha, you got to consider, but you're really not looking at much of a high strikeout upside there if you want to roll the dice there.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting GPP play if you want to differentiate, because you are going to see that the pitchers are very concentrated on just about probably 3 guys in this slate. It's going to be very highly owned. So that would be an interesting pivot. And if you can pay down, you can really load up on some high-end guys, because it is hard to get load up on to get the pricing right if you're paying up on pitching to find enough high-end bats on DK specifically. So that's an interesting strategy that KT Wiz. I think he should be lined up nicely for the win, especially Vegas really likes him for the win. And if he can go 6 innings, even if he only gets a couple strikeouts, I think that would hit value. So I do like that actually for GPPs. So.
All right, we'll keep that in mind as we go to game 2, which features one of those 3 stud pitchers you were talking about. This is Kia against Samsung. Kia, the road favorite here, minus 149 on mybookie.ag, over under set at 9.5. And Kia is rolling out Drew Gagnon, who's a really good strikeout pitcher, 61 strikeouts, 61 2/3. He's 5-3 this year with an ERA just under 4, going up against a solid Samsung hitting team here recently at home, good hitters ballpark. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Will you have any exposure to Drew Gagnon?
Yeah, I do like Drew Gagnon. Like I said, there's only so many options that are good pitchers here. And Samsung's been kind of hot and cold. In general, they've been trending up, but they can still be had. You can still strike them out at a high rate. So if Gagnon can limit them to 2 or 3 runs or less and rack up some strikeouts and go 6 innings, I like them. And I think that they have a good chance for the win because the Samsung pitcher Jung Hyun Bak has been kind of up and down, and you can definitely get to him as well. So I think Kia can put up some runs against him and definitely have a chance here. So I do like Gagnon. Other than that, not going to be targeting a lot of hitters here. I do like Preston Tucker because he has power. He doesn't bat for much high of an average against lefties, but he does hit home runs against lefties. And this pitcher Bach for Samsung likes to give up home runs. And like you mentioned, Samsung by far the best hitters park. So I do like Tucker here. I think there's maybe a couple other guys that you like in this game. What are you thinking for bats here?
Yeah, I'll stick with the Kia bats. You mentioned Tucker's power. He actually hit 2 home runs against Beck earlier this season. So he's got that feeling going. Been hitting well lately here after a bit of a cold streak there. Their leadoff guy is new to the scene, C. Lee, $3,400 outfielder. He's 417 on the season. He's just 10 for 24, but that's all recently here. So he's been in the groove. He hasn't shown any power, but a guy that could get on base in front of Tucker and could be a good guy to pair with him. And then Ji-Wan Na, you always have to consider here in the cleanup spot. As you mentioned here before we started, Shane, he hasn't been as good against lefties, but he's been trending in the right direction in general lately. So you could look there if you want to make a bigger stack with Kia. And then in terms of Samsung, I may look at a couple of these lefties. Lefties are hitting 327 against Gagnon, but no home runs. He's really good at keeping the ball in the park. I mentioned those 61 2/3 innings. He's only given up 1 home run all season, which is phenomenal in the KBO. So you could look at Jaewoo Koo. He got him for 2 hits earlier in the season. He's 4,400. Saladino is the only right-handed hitter to hit a home run against Gagnon. In fact, he's the only hitter to hit a home run against him. But righties are only hitting 187 against him. So I probably won't go back there. So for me, probably a little bit of exposure to the Kia bats. And I'll probably mostly avoid the Gagnon against Samsung matchup. The thing with Gagnon is he's been solid. Look at his last 3 starts. He's always been between 2 and 3 earned runs, but only between 3 and 5 strikeouts. So he's just not getting that high upside game where he goes 7 innings, no earned runs, 7 Ks like some of these other higher priced pitchers. He's just been more steady, and it's hard to think that this is the day that he's going to have a gem against Samsung in their home park.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's 8,500, so he's kind of middle pricing. He's a little high, but I think he's reasonably, and I think that you're kind of forced to look at him because the alternatives at pitcher, other pitchers are probably very risky and probably are going to give up quite a bit of runs with this slate. So, but yeah, it's hard to like too many of the Samsung bats here. There are definitely a couple guys that you can look at, but overall, not a good matchup for them. And then you can take a couple Kia guys if you want here. And that's pretty much about it in this. So not a lot of exposure besides the pitcher here in this game.
All right, let's go to the middle game here. Game number 3. It's LG against Lotte. Both teams right around 500. Lotte with a 5-0 shutout last night behind Straley. He was a real key for us on both sites. Lotte, the favorite again, minus 135, despite their pitcher having a higher ERA than LG's pitcher. Over-under set at 9.5. And let's talk about this pitching matchup. It's Adrian Sampson for the home favorites Lotte. He has an ERA over 5, though, and LG really hit him around when they faced off earlier. 5 1/3 innings, 6 earned runs, and 10 hits. Now, he's been a little bit better lately, but overall, lefties are hitting .353 against him on the season, righties .297. Will you have any LG hitters tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you got to like the lefties. I mean, their leadoff guy, C. Lee, is a lefty, so you got to like a guy batting on the road, batting leadoff here against a pitcher that gives up a lot of production to lefties. And then, of course, you got to like Hyung So Kim and Roberto Ramos. Those are their stud lefties at the top of the order. I mean, overall, the LG Twins have kind of struggled as a team, but those guys are the few bright spots for this team here. So usually if someone's going to produce, it's them. And Samson can definitely give up a lot of production against those lefties. So I do like the two big lefties there and the leadoff guy, and that's probably about the amount of exposure I would go here. I mean, if you want to get a catcher on DraftKings, you can do the LG catcher Kang Nam Yu, who hasn't been that great lately, but he's usually pretty solid as a catcher. And then over on the Lotte bat side, they're going up against Tyler Wilson. And Tyler Wilson's interesting. You know, sometimes he's decent, but he hasn't been great in general. But he's another guy. If you wanted a low-owned guy, he's definitely more risky. You could play him at $7,000 on DraftKings. I don't really love it, but again, with the choices, he's probably more like a fourth option here. You could take a look at him, but I do like a couple of the Lotte bats here. Of course, Asiel Son, typically batting second, the outfielder. He's a lefty going up against a righty. Bats really good against righties with the platoon advantage. And then Jungwoo Jeon is a righty who has a lot of power, and he hits for power and average against righties here. And Wilson does give up some home runs. So I like those two guys at the top of the order there. And then Wilson is a very, very risky GPP pitcher here. And that's pretty much it for this game for me. What do you got going on in this game?
Yeah, very similar to your approach. Wilson has really been shaky lately. You know, he's got plenty of talent. Last 3 games, 17 innings, 10 earned runs, and 25 hits. So he's really been getting hit around here a bit. And you know, my favorite as well on the Lotte side is Asiel Son. When they faced off earlier, Wilson couldn't get him out. 2 walks and a single. So nice value on DraftKings. Under 4,000, 3,800. And then the LG lefties are attractive to me as well. The other guy I'll mention is Ji-Won-Oh, the shortstop. On DraftKings, he's 3,500. The thing is, they moved him around the lineup between 2nd and 6th recently. So he's one of the guys I'm going to be watching in the middle of the night. We've got a 5:30 a.m. Eastern lock. So around 4:45 a.m. when we start communicating with our members, that'll be one of the first things I look at is where he's batting in the order. He's just a guy who's got that nice combination of power and speed. And, you know, shortstop can be a tough position sometimes on DraftKings. So guy under 4,000 with the power speed combo is somebody I always like to look at depending on where he is in the lineup.
Awesome.
All right, let's roll on to game 4. This is the powerhouse matchup. NC Dinos against the Kiwoom Heroes, 2 top teams here in the league, battling it off with a 3-game slate. Freddie Mills talked about this a bunch in his article. Big mid-season matchup here. Kiwoom, the big favorite tonight, though, minus 222, over under 9.5. They've got the Joker on the hill, Eric Jokic. He has been dominant this year, 8-2. A whip under 1. Not as big of a strikeout guy as some of the other studs here. 54 strikeouts in 76 1/3, but only 2 home runs allowed. This is his first matchup against the Dinos this year. We know how strong they are as a group offensively. So fun matchup here. Jokic against the Dinos. What are your thoughts there?
You know, I was just thinking of MLB starting up soon. This is kind of like the premier matchup for the KBO. I mean, this is like Yankees Red Sox, you know, just to give you like a American MLB analogy. So,
right.
So we got the Yankees Red Sox going here. They're loaded. I I think that Jokic is in play here. It makes you a little nervous. He's going up against the Dinos. He hasn't faced them this year. A very powerful lineup. They don't have most likely some bum now. Their top hitter is probably going to be out. So that does help Jokic a little bit there in the middle of the lineup. And Altier is typically he's the Altier's been hot lately, so that's a concern going up against a lefty here. But I think Jokic can contain these guys. So I do like Jokic. It's just a matter if you can fit it into your lineup build, paying up for him at $10,000 on DraftKings or $28 on FanDuel. That's going to be pretty hard. But so you could pay up to be a little more contrarian here too. But yeah, I think he's if you can fit him in there, he's worth paying up for. But I don't really like a lot of the NC Dinos bats because of Jokic, and I think that's going to be kind of the trend we're going to see here in this. And then Kiwoom, you got to kind of like the matchup there. The Dinos pitcher is a 5.24 ERA. He's 1-1. Sung Young Cha. He's not great. So I do like, especially their lefties, Kei Seo, the leadoff hitter. And of course, you got to like our guy, Jung Ho Lee, who's one of the better hitters in the league here. He's really good against lefties, even though he's a lefty himself. And then you can also, of course, the catcher, Dongwon Park, is a good power hitter type guy. He doesn't hit for a high average against lefties, but he can hit for power here. So those are the main guys I like. Ha Seong Kim is one of the hottest batters in the entire league right now. The guy's absolutely on fire, but I would tell you that he does much better against righties than he does lefties. So if I'm trying to hit his ceiling game, and being that he's going to be kind of chalky, being that the guy's absolutely on fire, I kind of like fading Ha Seong Kim tonight, which is kind of a bold move because the guy is on fire right now. And the other thing I like about the Kiwoom bats, if you're going to get 2 or 3 of these guys in here, is that the Dinos bullpen is absolute garbage. So you can really rough up, if they can rough up the starter here and get to that bullpen, it's going to be eating time for the Kiwoom heroes here. So that's my take on this.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this looks pretty good on paper for Kiwoom facing this lefty. He's given up 7 home runs in only 29 2/3 innings. That is very, very poor. Yeah. This is a reliever turned starter. And, you mentioned the fact that a lot of these Kiwoom guys don't hit very well against lefties. So I pulled the numbers here. I want to give them out. KCO is 320 against lefties with no homers. Ha Seong Kim, the guy you mentioned, the stud, he's been on fire. He's only 214 with 1 homer against lefties. He's at 13 homers, I think, against righties. So yeah, I agree. I think it is a bold play because he's been so hot. Hopefully a lot of people will look at that righty-lefty matchup and go there. And hopefully that trend continues if we fade him, that he just doesn't do it against lefties. Then you look at Jung Ho Lee, 333 against lefties, but no homers. Byung-Ho Park, 237 against lefties with only 2 homers. Dongwon Park, as you mentioned, low batting average, 219, but he does have 5 homers. Yep. And Jay Lee, the catcher, the backup catcher who has been DHing, he's a guy that I really don't like his swing very much. He doesn't have any home runs this season. He's not a power guy, but he is batting 300 against lefties. He went 3 for 3 last night. So at 2,600 on DraftKings, I'm going to have to consider him. It's tough when there's a guy that doesn't really pass the eye test for you. At DFS Coach Talk, we do put a lot of stock into that. But if he can just knock out a couple singles, maybe score a run, maybe knock one in, then he can pay off value. So last 2 guys I'll mention: BG on 233 against lefties with no homers, and then Hai Sung Kim, who had the day off yesterday, 294 against lefties with no homers. So you get the theme there. It's guys with who've had really strong seasons but are just not doing against lefties, and it's a fascinating matchup because this lefty gives up home runs left and right. So we'll see how that plays out. As for Jokic, I'll be on him a bunch tonight. If I'm going to look at any righty bats for the Dinos, you got to start with Aaron Altair. He has been on a tear against lefties this year. 386 with 7 home runs in only 44 at-bats. Yeah, he just gets it done against lefties. So that'll be a fun matchup to watch. He's expensive, 5,300 on DraftKings. And then H. Kwan, only 2,800. He's been batting 2nd or 3rd recently with guys like Sung Bum Na out, Yui Ji Yang getting the night off yesterday. So if you want to get different and you're going to fade Jokic, the guys I would look at would be H. Quan and Altair.
Nice. So who do you got here? I think based on where you're at, you got Yankees or Red Sox here?
Well, who's who?
You don't know. I think I'm gonna go Red Sox or the Dinos, and the Yankees for the Kiwoom.
Red Sox or the Dinos?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh no, I don't want to go with the Yankees.
See, I just did that just to mess with you because I knew you were a Red Sox guy.
Don't do that to me. Oh gosh.
That's pretty smooth move there. Yeah, I'm going Yankees here.
I'm in New England. I'm in New England. You can't do that to me.
Yeah, I had to do it. You can get me in the NFL season. You can get me with some Packers or Bears, takes. Right. You can hit me with them.
I will. So, yeah, we'll have some good NFC North talk because I've always been a Bears fan. So we'll get some
exactly. You can hit me with some Bears smack. Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Nice.
All right, let's turn the page to Game 5. Get away from this Yankees talk.
Yep.
Let's talk about Doosan, and they're more like the Red Sox for me. Yep. The Doosan Bears, big home favorite tonight, minus 294, over under 9.5 as they host SK. SK got them last night. They outscored them. As we mentioned, we were on Jung Cha, had a big night. But tonight they're facing Raul Alcantara, 8-1 on the season, 3.14 ERA, whip just over 1, 69 strikeouts, excellent there. How about the last 2 games for Alcantara? 14 innings, 1 earned run, 17 strikeouts, only 1 walk. And you, of course, my friend, were all over Alcantara in that recent stretch. Paid off big time for us, for you and our members. Tonight he's got SK, and their lineup's been changing a little bit. We've got Dong Min Han back in the lineup. Tai-In Che has fit in nicely at a cheap price at first base. Romak had the day off yesterday, but it is still SK. So will you have some exposure to Alcantara tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. SK is trending up a little bit, but they started really, really low, so they're still pretty bad. But yeah, so Alcantara with his SK definitely strikes out at a really high rate, and Alcantara's a power pitcher, strikeout type guy. So I really like his upside for strikeouts of being able to get up there, 8 or 9 strikeouts type upside, which is really good. So yeah, I mean, again, the options aren't great, so you got to like him. He's very reasonable. Alcantara is, 9,500 on DK. So you definitely got to really like Alcantara here, and he's at home, and that is definitely a pitcher's park for the Doosan Bears here at home. So things are really trending up there. What's kind of tricky is the Doosan side, because we always say, well, you want to stack Doosan against Ricardo Pinto, who's really bad. He gets a lot of walks, puts a lot of guys on base. He's kind of wild pitcher, but then Doosan doesn't typically put up quite as many scores and runs and hits at home, but they can probably buck that trend in this matchup here. So I do like some of the Doosan guys. So what are you thinking for these Doosan hitters here?
Yeah, it's tough with Pinto. This is another guy sort of like Gagnon who just does not give up homers. Only 2 in 67 and a third innings. Unlike Gagnon, he's not a big strikeout guy with only 40 strikeouts. But it's just tough to get too excited about Doosan tonight with a guy who keeps the ball down so well in a pitcher's park. So you could go with a one-off. Somebody like J-E-O-O is a little bit cheaper than the other guys in the heart of the order. J1O, if he plays at 2,600, he could be a good value. He's another one of these bats that's just been underpriced for too long on DraftKings. A guy that he's hitting 284 on the season with 5 homers and 23 RBI. Sounds a little bit like what they used to do with Ju-Hwan Cha, our guy who was down at between 21 and 2,500 for the longest time, despite having 6, 7, 8 homers, and now he's finally inched up. They've got him all the way up to
4,000.
4,000, yeah. This will be a new matchup. Doosan has not faced Pinto this year. But because of the factors we've talked about, I just like some of the bats earlier in the slate more than Doosan.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I think maybe a lot of people will look at the fact that Pinto's been pretty bad lately, and they might stack Doosan. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Doosan's got a good matchup here, but they're also at home, and Pinto does kind of, he gives up a little production, but he does limit that big upside. So yeah, in general, maybe one or two of those guys, but probably not stacking Doosan tonight, even though they're a popular stack normally. So.
Yeah, you mentioned that, was it Beck earlier? The Samsung picture you're talking about, he likes to give up home runs. Pinto likes to walk people. 35 walks in 67 in the third inning. So that's the thing. You get a couple walks, great, you get a few points, but you're not getting the bombs. He'd rather just walk you than let you hit a bomb.
But if you do get a bomb, it's probably a three-run bomb. There's always guys on base. So
that's right.
So we'll see how it shakes out here. Yeah.
That's right. Well, it's been fun breaking down this 5-game slate. Yep. Again, we want to invite you to come in as a new member. Take advantage of that bonus coverage through July here. Grab a monthly membership that'll take you all the way through the end of August. You can do that on our website, which is dfscoachtalk.com. And then tonight we'll give you the full FanDuel lineup, the DraftKings player pool. If you could, we'd love it if you would give us the thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. This is a free podcast that's in front of the paywall. So we'd love to have you give us the thumbs up, become a subscriber so you know every day when the podcast posts. If you're listening, you can still listen wherever podcasts are found. So we invite you to do that. Let's see here. Social media. You can follow us on Twitter, DFS Coach Talk. That's when we give updates on when Freddie's article is posted. And you can find the podcast there every day. Shane is on Twitter. We mentioned Detroit Lions fan here. This is Mr. Detroit. DET Sports Shane on Twitter. That's DET Sports Shane. There is the mug.
Yeah.
Looking good. Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Language Olympic. Our fearless leader, Joe Sarvadi. You can find him at JoeSarvadi. He is the coach. Shane does our Instagram page. That's DFS_Coach Talk. And Coach's favorite charity, MambaOn3.org, MAMBAONTHREE.org. Give that a check. And want to thank our sponsors one more time, mybookie.ag. Wonderful promo. Get that on our website. 50% deposit match, $25 free play. TVG, where the world watches and wagers on horse racing. $300 risk-free bet. Grab that on our website. And then got to mention tomorrow, that's Wednesday. That's one of our doubleheader days. Shane and Coach will be on breaking down the KBO, and Coach and I will break down the PGA. Memorial is going to be a fun week. So we invite you for
Tiger Woods, y'all.
Tiger's back in the field.
There you go.
It'll be fun. So any final thoughts here, Shane?
No, I think our members are going to be excited to see what this FanDuel lineup's looking like. Now that we kind of hyped it up, we got a lot riding on here. Big expectations for the FanDuel, So
I think it's a first for us to build the lineup independently on FanDuel, have it be the same lineup. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So
love it.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. We do appreciate it. On behalf of Sugar Shane Caldwell, the coach Joe Sarvadi, and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I am Andrew Hansen. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure to tune in again tomorrow for our doubleheader, KBO and PGA, as we look to crush it in DFS.